I've been in your waters. I can for sure. I've never been so close before. It's one way or the other.
All right, welcome to Lunch Therapy. This is Joel Marshall. This is Interview Friday. Every Friday we do an interview, a live interview with an extraordinary guest. Today is no exception. We have the magical Katrina on the show today. A lot of you know her perhaps from the Chappell Roan video, Red Wine Supernova, or from her appearances on television. She's a real powerhouse magician. This show airs on Tuesdays and Fridays at noon. Tuesdays is more of a variety show. Fridays is interviews. Todd Lee is here. Abracadabra hoy, he says. We say hoy on the show instead of hi, the traditional hi. We say hoy. No one knows why. No one knows why. One of our previous guests, Ryan Pyle, is doing a show tonight. There's Katrina, a little glimpse of Katrina there for you in the green room with my assistant Boney, getting ready for the show. This is called LA Strong. It's an evening with Ryan Pyle. That's happening tonight. There is a link in the show notes. It's at 7 p.m. It says doors at 10 a.m. Well, that would be an early getting there. But anyway, there's a link in the show notes. It's at Los Globos Theater in Silver Lake, Sunset Boulevard. Ryan Pyle is just an incredible adventurer. And he also has his own podcast called Ryan Pyle Podcast. So check that out. But let's get into this thing. It is called Lunch Therapy. I'm going to get myself a modem. I'm going to get myself a modem. I'm gonna 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 get myself a modem. At the top of the show, I'd like to thank all the Patreons. This is how we finance our independent media with Patreons such as the ones above: Mike Knox, Todd Lee, Kamala Lopez, Liz Lopez, Robert Lopez. It's all in the family. Jay Patterson, Ivy Palma, Pam Palmieri, Neil Phillip, also known as Guignel, Seth Word, Jason Edelman, Mary Marks. Thank you, all of you, for supporting the show. We're heading on 5 years this show's been on. March 15th will be the birthday of the show. Last name Pyle would have been a fun one to deal with as a child. This guy, he lives up to his name. He is a pile of adventure, I'll tell you. He really is. And there's an interview with him on this show. There's also an interview of me on his show, so check those out if you want. But right now we're going to breathe. This show is a break from all the crap that's going on in the world. There's a lot of tension going on out there. This is a place to relieve the tension. We often do it with healing vibrations. They have a beautiful YouTube channel. We take in a breath, we hold it, we let it go. We do this 3 times at the top of the show. So in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. This show tonight with Ryan Pyle is apparently very funny as well. He talks about his adventures, but it's also comedy. In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. One more time. In through the nose, out through the toes. Let it go. So excited to have Katrina on the show today. She's an amazing person. I'll tell you more about her before I bring her on, but we're going to be bringing her on momentarily. But first, a little hand pan. This is how we prepare for our shows around here as we relax with. This is a guy called Alem. He's got a YouTube channel. And he's playing something called a goo ball. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's made by something called Pan Art. Go ahead and shake it out. Todd says, did he ride through Russia? I heard an interview with a guy who rode his motorcycle through Russia. Was arrested and in prison for doing nothing at all. Fought to get out, which he did. Wow. That's quite a story. Yes, Matt, Goobal. G-U-B-A-L. It's a beautiful instrument. Todd says he feels like a goo ball when he piles around too much. I'm sorry to hear about your piles, Todd Lee. All right, check out Alem on his channel. He also is an incredible rapper. I know, seems like I'm making it up, but he really is. He's one of the best. Gooball, yeah. All right, now we're moving on. Now, so we're gonna get to Katrina here. She just got here, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about her. She has been seen recently, as I said before, in Chappell Roan's music video, Red Wine Supernova. She's an incredible magician that has appeared triumphantly on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, where Penn Jillette had this to say about her. Katrina is a pro. I've worked on stage with her improvising magic in an impossible situation, and we killed it. She crushed it. I'll go into a showbiz battle with her by my side any day. I'd love to hear about that showbiz battle that he speaks of. But she was on the show, and I don't know if you've seen this show before, but it's called Fool Us, Penn and Teller Fool Us, where you do a trick, and then they try and figure it out, and they give you an honest assessment of whether you fooled them. Katrina started out as a princess. She moved to magic and clowning, like many of us. She's originally from the Portland area, and then the Bay Area, now the LA area. It's a lot of areas. Perhaps next Area 51, where she can investigate aliens. We'll have to ask her. I mean, who better to ask about aliens than a magician? She has captivated audiences in over 20 countries as a cast member of the international touring show Champions of Magic, and as a performer on popular TV shows like Masters of Illusion, Blippi, which is a children's show. She's also done advocacy work with Magicians Without Borders and Emergency Circus. And she's a leading mind in magic, having lectured at prestigious conventions and clubs around the world. She's a member of the Magic Circle in London and has performed for the Magic Castle, or the Academy of Magical Arts in Hollywood. So without further ado, let's just check in with the chat room here. She beat Penn and Teller, yes. She beat them. Aliens are always sawing people in half. Yeah, they do all kinds of things with people. Champions of Magic. Yes. All right, let's get into this thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for magical Katrina.
Here is magical Katrina.
I did not know how you did it.
Magic on the screen because you feel like you see everything, but I'm seeing magic.
Magical Katrina.
All right. Magical Katrina, welcome to the show. We have audio problems. I think.
Oh, I was just on mute so that you couldn't hear me earlier.
Oh, good. Kamala says, great video. That was a great video of you performing. What a wonderful performer you are. I've been able to see a lot of your work online, and I really appreciate you being on the show, Katrina. What is this about you starting out as a princess? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I don't know how old your viewers are. They're probably older than 5, but if you've been to a 5-year-old or 6-year-old birthday party where they have someone dressed as a princess or a fairy, or maybe even a superhero, and they face paint and balloon twist and do magic shows for the families. That's how I started over a decade ago.
Wow. And how did you segue then into magic? Apparently you went to clown school. Is that right?
Yeah, I did that before becoming a princess. So I went to clown conservatory at Circus Center, which was a multi-month program. And I met someone there who was Spider-Man at children's parties on the weekends. And I thought that was amazing that you could get paid to be Spider-Man. Like, that's the dream, right?
Yes,
So,
of course.
so I applied for the company, and they told me that women can't be Spider-Man, which was
Oh,
frustrating for me. But I guess the character is technically a guy.
yeah.
But I did play Elsa, Anna, and all of those kind of Cinderella princesses like that.
Oh, that's awesome. And you grew up in Portland, is that right?
I did.
What was your childhood like? Were you a performer, a natural performer? Because you have such great poise.
I was always a musical theater kid, and I remember seeing Wizard of Oz and Meet Me in St. Louis and like all of these old movies. I loved Judy Garland. And I just grew up on Turner Classic Movies. So I wanted to be like a singer and a dancer and a performer, like Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. And in high school, I had an internship at the Northwest Children's Theater. And I also was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show Shadowcast for 4 years. So I just did all of the community theater that I could soak up when I was a teen. And and then I went to clown school at like 18. Like I think the month I turned 18, I went to clown school, and never looked back.
And what were your parents like with that? Were they like, this is great? Are they performers as well?
So my mother worked at Wells Fargo for like 60
Really?
years. My father was not in the picture, which is probably like why I like older men. That I seek approval from older men.
Oh, good. Some therapy. We got some real therapy going on here. Appreciate it.
Lunch therapy.
Yeah.
No, one of my, I think obviously comedy comes from truth. One of my favorite lines that I say in my magic show, and I do it at corporate events even and things like that, is I'll say, if you liked what you see, you could do this, which is the international sign language symbol for a round of applause.
Yeah.
That's what I did on, in virtual shows.
Yeah.
And I'll say, or you can unmute yourselves and just shout out something like, the magic was amazing. Wow, your father would be proud of you, Katrina. Whatever you think is appropriate.
Yeah. That's
And
great. How important is
yeah.
is comedy to magic?
I think it depends on what kind of a magician or mentalist or
Oh,
illusionist you are.
yeah.
I like comedy. I mean, I just can't not like. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
I use humor to deflect and fill silences. And like, if I see an opportunity for a joke, I would
Mhm.
have to have like self-control to not say the joke. And
But does it also help you distract or take people's attention to places that you want to put it?
um, that's a good question. Yes, but I don't consciously think of it that way.
Mm.
I think that the thing that more helps with misdirection and psychology during magic and getting away with sneaky secret moves
Mm.
is body language. Things like eye contact and you acting like whatever's going on over here doesn't even matter. And it's funny because, I mean, it's just me. I'm me.
Yeah.
But I have my partner, he's heard me do so many phone calls with clients and
Mhm.
seen me do so many shows. He said I have this kind of scatterbrained professor vibe, like a mad scientist thing, where I'll be like really professional and organized, but I'm also like, oh, a squirrel. And so that kind of works with magic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do my sneakiest of things when I'm like, oh, is that an egg roll? You know?
Oh, yeah,
And,
yeah, totally. Like,
but it's not even that conscious. It's just, I do get distracted easily.
yeah.
So it just works out.
Do you think it's do you think it's to a magician's benefit that people get distracted more easily these days? I mean I would say probably that's true. We're probably fractured a little bit more.
Yeah. Thanks, TikTok.
I know, it's like giving you a boost. You also do? We had Adrian Saint on the show, and he was the one who recommended you on the show, and we're so thankful for that. Do you do mentalism as well?
Yes. Yeah. Mentalism, I would say, is under the umbrella of magic.
Yeah,
Right.
I was amazed at what he had said. What he said about mentalism being actually really predicting what way people are thinking. Like is some of it's like mentalism is actually real. You know what I mean? It's like not a trick. You actually
I mean,
can.
I'm extremely atheist, so
Yeah.
I like Adrian, and I'm gonna let him tell you whatever he feels makes sense with his character and what he's
Yeah.
offering.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Okay. So you're saying I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave that alone.
yeah, Adrian's cool. If he says mentalism is real when he does it, maybe it
I
is.
believed him. I really believed him.
I'm just doing tricks. I'm pretending to read people's minds when I do mentalism, but I maybe don't have the gift that he has. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Um,
when I interviewed him, he said that he actually studied just the way that people think. That's how he started doing mentalism. But maybe I don't know. Maybe that's just his story. His story. Do you as a performer of magic? I mean, you were saying that your partner says that you have a sort of a scatterbrained professor kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
I don't think I look like a professor, but I
You
think
don't. Yeah.
the mix of the chaos and then
Yeah.
the confidence and then the chaos and then the being ADHD. So
Did it take you some time to find your particular voice?
I just am myself when I do magic. I honestly would love to have an odd character that's different from me. I think that would be really fun, like
Hmm.
as a challenge, like a creative challenge, because I come from an improv background and a theater background, and
Yeah.
I could do all sorts of voices and things. I've done all the levels of Groundlings, which is an improv thing in LA,
Hmm.
all the way to the top, like advanced levels. So I love that. But right now, I'm just myself. And I think that's because a lot of the magic I do is very commercial. It's not like, come see me in a theater and I'm doing my show.
Mm.
It's more like, oh, do you have a corporate event or do you have a wedding and you need a magician to do magic during cocktail hour or your friend's birthday or you're at a trade show? So I often am just myself because I find that's saleable. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're doing magic at a company thing, having like this weird off the wall character isn't gonna
That might be weird. They might not identify with it.
book it. And some
Yeah.
of my favorite magicians in the whole world have really amazing, unique characters,
Mhm.
and some of them do both. Like they'll be a character, but then they'll be themselves for corporate. Like there's this amazing female magician I really admire and look up to. And I don't know, you could have her on the podcast. She's great. Her name is Carissa Hendricks. And then her character is Lucy Darling. And when she does corporate and things, she'll often be herself, I think. And then she'll also, when she's being more artistic and people love her character, she'll be Lucy Darling. So I think that's a way to do it. Or my friend Greg is the Shocker, and he wears a wrestling mask, and he like says the most obnoxious, totally not corporate friendly things, right? He's like a badass wrestler. And then, you know, when he does corporate work, he'll be Greg. Unless someone loves their character, then he'll be them or she'll be her, you know. So I think that's interesting. I don't have an alter ego yet.
It's fun to have an alter ego because it gives you a certain kind of freedom, you know?
Yeah.
Todd Lee says you should show up at a corporate event dressed as a nun. Sister Atheist. That would be interesting. That would be a really interesting thing.
If you can convince your HR department to have me do that, and I'm doing a James Bond themed event on Thursday where they're having me dressed in like a red dress, and I do a card trick and I give someone a secret code.
That's awesome.
I'll be a nun. Talk to your
corporate people, Todd. Todd, get that happening.
Yeah, Todd, who books the corporate events.
Todd's up in Seattle. Party. He can make that happen. He can make it happen. Yeah. Now, we had that quote from Penn Jillette where he said, I've worked on stage with her improvising magic in an impossible situation. What is he referring to as this impossible situation?
So that was actually before I was on Penn and Teller Fool Us. There's a magic convention called Genie, and he needed a volunteer to do a magic trick, and like nobody volunteered. So I went up and I was like all for it to help. And he was just impressed that I had the balls to like come up on stage and be brave and go up there. And he was really kind. So afterwards, like, it's funny, I mentioned Lucy Darling, Carissa, because she's amazing. She's a very talented magician, but she was backstage performing. She was like, come back and, you know, meet everybody. And I was like, okay. And I went back and he gave me his email. And then I didn't talk to him because I didn't want to be weird. And then like, be like, hey, Penn, you gave me your email. Yeah. Blah. But then he talked on his podcast about how much he appreciated me, and he called me out by name, and I was like so flattered. That was really kind of him to do. He did not have to do that. And so I emailed him and I was like, you said so many amazing things on your podcast. Like, one of the things he said is my sense of humor, that I was like, he compared me to Lenny Bruce, which I thought was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, he's a legend. Like, and I mean, obviously for corporate entertainment or weddings, that's not
might not be so good. Yeah.
But I was like, wow, can I use some of the things you said on my website? And then he was like, I'll do you better. And he wrote that and emailed it to me. And I thought that was so classy and kind and really, really nice of him. He's a very nice person. And I had a great experience all the times I've interacted with him. He's great.
Are most magicians generous like that? I mean, do you share tricks, or are some people very like, no, I can't tell you how I do my tricks, or what is the community like with magicians in general?
I think, so one common thing I've noticed is the more successful you are, the more kind and nice you are for the most part. Like the people that are really working and doing well, getting fun, like gigs that are, you know, have high social status, like the people that perform at the Magic Castle or are on TV shows and stuff, or the people that are financially doing well. Maybe nobody knows about them, but they're making six figures. Yeah. Everybody has some way they're doing well is nice, and they'll just freely share information a lot of the time. The people that there is a lot of negativity in the community, I will say, and there's a lot of positivity as well, but I think the negativity comes from people that aren't doing as well and are insecure, or they're like fighting over crumbs. I find, especially with gig working and things like that. I feel like stand-up comedy or a lot of things are a similar way. You know, like I definitely know magicians that would not hesitate to push me down the stairs showgirl style if like I, you know, but I
there
also
you go.
know magicians,
yeah.
But I, you know, like female magicians, like, whoop, but I also know really, really wonderful, amazing female magicians and male magicians that lift each other up, so much of the opportunities I've gotten, so much of the knowledge I've gotten. I mean, even just talking about, the mentalist you mentioned, Sinclair, he's so generous with knowledge and such a kind person. And literally, he came to my apartment the other day. He had a gig near here, and he brought his whole gig kit, and he was just showing me some of his favorite tricks, like that he loves, and saying, "Oh, you should buy this, or this one's great." So, it depends, but it's just like any community. We're all imperfect humans, and we try our best, and yeah.
And true. And some people think, life is a competition where with everyone else, when generally it's a competition with yourself, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm winning, but
I'm winning. All right, I'm going to show a little bit of this clip of you using your hands with cards. Now, is that? Do you prefer to do? Oh yeah, they're going crazy. It was like, did you have to? I mean, obviously you've been doing this for like 10 years.
It's actually more like 12 years.
12 years, yeah. And then you so you didn't, but you say that you didn't start young. You started. You started young, but you didn't start when you were like 5 years old. How long did it take you to get that kind of skill to do close-up magic like that? And what kind of practice regimen did you have, or do you have?
So I would say the first 4 years I was doing a lot of kids magic and what we call self-working. So stuff that wasn't sleight of hand or skill-based in a lot of ways, like learn the secret, and it's relatively easy to do. And so that was the first 4 years. And then the last 9 years, I've been doing like more close-up magic and sleight of hand and things honestly aimed more at adults. Not to say that a lot of kids magicians don't have amazing sleight of hand, but it's different industries, right? Doing close-up. And I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, so I tend to hyper focus on whatever. So I'll hyper focus on business for a month, and then I'll hyper focus on learning like a couple new tricks, and then I'll practice one trick like over and over and over again for 2 months. And anytime I see new friends or have an event or anything, I'm just doing that trick. Like even if someone didn't hire me to do close-up magic, they hired me to do like a team building magic workshop, or something. I'll go up to the person who hired me after, and I'll be like, "There's something I'm working on. Can I try it on you?" So I try to, when I can, like test things out. Obviously, so magic's different than maybe joke writing because you have to do it on your own a bunch, right? Do it on your own. You do it 50 times, you don't mess it up. Then you're like, okay, I'm ready for round 2 of practice, which is showing people in low stress situations like friends, your parents, this person at a corporate event that hired you, but you're off the clock now. And you're like, do you want to see something? And then I start to put it in my show that already exists, or my walk around and close-up magic set that I do at like cocktail parties. And I'll shove it in between 2 things that I know are really strong, or I'll shove it into something that has another out, or like something related, but that's extra impressive. So if I'm like, oh, the thing that I wanted to have happen didn't happen, I have this out. More often than not, that doesn't happen. But like so much of magic is just remembering a lot of little things, setting it up correctly, doing it at the right time, remembering this beat. It's really having your present self think of all these things so that your future self doing the trick isn't left like holding the bag. Yeah. When the magic moment is supposed to happen, then you're like, ah!
Is that kind of a rule? Is that kind of a rule? Do it 50 times without making a mistake?
That's just what I do at home alone. Yeah. And I'll do it in front of the mirror, or I'll just, depending on what it is, like if it's just to move like a sleight of hand thing, I'll just, I'll sometimes do it when I'm on a Zoom meeting like this. I'm not right now, but I could just have a deck of cards and be practicing something over and over again. It's great if you are on the spectrum and you want something to fiddle with, which I think a lot of magicians are on the spectrum, just it happens to be but I think we're drawn to it because we're Ooh, I can fiddle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Now, I'm going to show just a little bit of this video that you're in. Hopefully they won't ban me from YouTube. But I just want to show this. This is Chappell Roan.
She was a playboy, Bridget Bardot. She showed me things I didn't know. She did it right there, out on the deck. Put her canine teeth in the side of my neck. And always waiting for ya. Mini skirt and my go-go boots. I just want you to make a move. So slow down, sit down, it's new.
Do we have applause again? We do. We have more applause, I think, right? Thank you, Boney. That was wonderful. Can you tell us how this came to be? Did you know Chappell Roan at all before this, or anything like that? Because are you from similar area, the LA area?
Yeah. I did not know her beforehand, like personally. I will say I was obsessed with the song Pink Pony Club in like 2020, the summer of COVID. I have a lot of memories of just biking outside, listening to Pink Pony Club on full blast. And my partner at the time that I lived with, because it was COVID, so everyone like lived with their pod, you know?
Yeah.
He was probably so sick of hearing it. I played it so much.
Really?
I was obsessed because Spotify recommended it. I love like indie pop, and Spotify recommended it. So then fast forward to like a couple years later, they reached out to me. And it's funny because at the time I only knew Pink Pony Club. I didn't actually know that her name was Chappell Roan. And she wasn't as big yet. So I quoted them just my price, you know, because I was like, oh, they sent me the song and I was like, oh, this is a good song. But, you know, in LA, tons of projects reach out to you, small or big, and most of them are small. And they're like, we're doing a music video in our garage, you know, so I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know who she was. And I didn't know she was the Pink Pony Club person.
You didn't know?
So
wow.
I didn't know. And I will say at the time, she had like 120,000 followers. She was so small at the time in the public eye. You know, I have 128 now. I think I have a little less than she had, but she wasn't a big thing yet, but her music was on Spotify and being recommended to people like me that liked it. So and it's such a banger of a song, Pink Pony Club. But anyway, they reached out to me and I had no idea. And I just quoted my rate, which honestly, if I'd known who she was, I would have done it for free and begged to do it. You know, I didn't know. And so then I got off the phone after being a business lady and I Googled her name and I was like,
holy crap.
Club!
Yeah.
You know, and nobody knew who she was.
Really?
I was obsessed with Pink Pony Club. Weirdly. So I'm like a hipster where I was like, I discovered it before.
Yeah.
But, so I was like, jumping up and down, playing the song on repeat, like fingers crossed, hope I get this. And originally they wanted me to just magic consult, for it. And I like, and basically magic consulting for TV, movies, music videos is like, okay, we have magic. We need to drive this narrative plot forward. We have these beats. So they're like, we want some magic tricks that are seductive. And so I was coming up like with, roses. They were like, we want magic with roses. And I was like, okay, I have a bunch of rose magic in my house. Some that I, you know, can bring and like show you. So things like that. It's just like you're solving a problem with magic and that's fun. Yeah. So then I realized they were doing it to a person, like a woman, like they were going to hire an actress to be this love interest. And then I would teach her in Chappell magic. So then we did an interview and I was like, well, maybe I should be both parts. And,
did you
they
say
were
that?
like, oh my God.
You came up with that idea? Like, duh.
They were like, well, so while they were talking to me, I always jokingly say, like, people are like, oh, like, what are your goals? Or like, what's your style? And I'm like, well, my style is just myself. But I always jokingly say that I want to be like a combination of Dita Von Teese, but like with her clothes on. But I love her glamour, you know, and her attention to detail, and just the way that everything she does is perfection. Do you know Dita Von Teese?
No,
She's a burlesque performer.
I don't.
She used to be married to Marilyn Manson and was in a lot of his music videos. But she's amazing. And I always compare her to Disney, which is weird because she's a burlesque performer. But hear me out. Everything she, like, you know, when you go to Disney and you notice in the little corner that they've decorated it, and then, no offense to Universal, but then you go to Universal and it's like dirty and there's like chain link fence that you walk by.
Yeah, right.
You
right.
know,
I
like,
know what you're talking
but
about.
there's the difference between those brands. Like, it's just a brand consistency thing. And and she's so sexy and glamorous and stunning. Like, please look up Dita Von Teese.
Is this
But,
her on the screen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But she, like, just look, you could look up just like her in clothes too. But she's famous for doing this martini burlesque thing. But she does a ton of burlesque, like, that is like, find one of her in her insane sequin outfits. But her lighting, her sound, she has a lingerie line, a perfume line. She's just a badass business lady with an empire. I think that is the most impressive thing about, like, look at her and look at her cowboy hat. She had a show in Vegas for a while with all these, anyway, so her just commitment to business and detail and brand consistency, I'm so impressed by. And she's glamorous and, like, always looks like she's from the 20s to 40s, which is great. She's amazing. Anyway, so I love her just as a style icon. And then I always say, like, I want to be a mix of Dita Von Teese and David Copperfield because he's, like, really rich and has
applause again. Sorry, people are just so excited by your ideas. Yeah.
I don't know what applause. Do people actually do the applause?
Oh yeah, they're like really thrilled. Oh no, it's Boney. Boney and his magic. My assistant Boney is a plastic skeleton. He does the sound and things like that. So he just sweetens the sound sometimes.
So anyway,
the two of them, David Copperfield, Dita Von Teese.
Yeah, I mean, I want an island and I want to be a millionaire and I want that.
Of course.
That I just admire her work ethic and everything about her I admire. So, and they were like, oh, that's exactly what we're actually looking for this character.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, here I am. And they had me do like an audition and they were just really nice and easy to work with. And it was really cool. Like, Chappell came here and I taught her some magic, and the director.
To your apartment? She came to your apartment?
Yeah. She was somewhere over there. Yeah. Wow. And so it was very cool. She was very nice, very kind. And yeah, just really professional. Honestly, I was so impressed. She learned the magic really fast. Yeah. Really good experience. And so it was great. And they just found me on the internet. They just looked up, I think,
Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's like a lot of times. Well, do you audition? What?
Why do you have the magic castle behind me?
I don't know. It just suddenly appeared.
Okay.
Magic, I guess. No, I got this picture actually from the Magic Castle when I had a guest on who was from the Magic Castle, and they gave us this.
Oh, cool.
So,
I
sort of fitting,
have to
right?
clarify, I am not from the Magic Castle, and they really don't like you saying you're from the Magic Castle when you're not. So.
Well, you know what? We'll take it off just in case. But then, of course, it's Disney.
That's fine.
Okay,
Disney
let's do Disney.
is fine, I think.
We won't say. Well, earlier we had like a giant cross behind us for a while, so people probably thought it was a religious show.
Yeah. No, I just and. The castle has, I've been hired by the Academy of Magical Arts to do their virtual show, but I've never done like the full week-long thing there.
Oh yeah,
and it is like a really prestigious thing, and it's a lot of work, and a lot of work that you do because you love it.
Yeah.
So they're really particular about if you can say you've performed physically in the castle or not.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow, okay. It's good to know.
A secret special club, like, of course. So anyway, I just. There's so many political things and etiquette. I just don't want to have a video of me online.
No, I get it.
I
totally get it.
Yeah.
So Chappell Roan comes to your house. You shoot the video. Then it gets millions upon millions upon millions of for a
year. For a year, it had like 200,000.
Really? And then it just jumped. You're kidding me.
It just exploded. And it was kind of like finding $20 in your pocket that you forgot you put in there after the laundry or something. Because I was telling my mom, I was telling my facial person who's queer, I was like, oh my God, Chappell Roan. I was in a Chappell Roan video. They're like, okay, I don't know who that is.
Really?
Like, one of my best friends in the whole world is literally it's gender fluid and in their early 20s. They're a Zoomer, just like Chappell. They're exactly her audience. And I remember telling them 2 years ago that I did this, and they were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
cool." And I like sent it to them, and they were like, "Oh, cool." Then 2 years later, we're like, It's blown up." And I was like, "Oh yeah, when I was in the video," and they were like, "You were in a video with Chappell Roan?" I'm like,
Yeah, all of a sudden they're like,
"Yeah, I sent
I
it to you
told
two
you
years
about
ago."
that. Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't know who that was." And then they're like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." So it's funny because
So funny.
nobody knew what it was. I
Yeah.
just thought it was cool. I just loved her music, and
Yeah.
I was bragging about it. And it's really cool to see her rise to fame. She is such a hard worker, so kind. Um, and yeah, I'm always,
I love that video that's on somewhere on YouTube. There's like a short that shows her playing at like Pan Pacific Park or something like that with her keyboard, and then her at Coachella. And it's like a year later or something, and there's like this sea of people. So it's like there she is playing in the park with like a couple of people, and then there's this like, it's amazing to watch. I had
yeah.
not heard about her either until a guest told me about her and was like, I want you to play that as a cover song at the end of because at the end of the show we play a cover song. But I got hooked on that Pink Pony Girl too, Pink Pony Club. It really catches you. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't stop singing it. I didn't even know what it was about, you know? And then I found out, then I listened to it and I'm like, oh, she came here from someplace else and went to West Hollywood and had this kind of epiphany. And she also talks about that too, that she had this like epiphany where somebody said she was a drag queen. And she was like, I am a drag queen. You know what I mean? So it's kind of an interesting story. And
yeah, I know. Honestly, it was so
Yeah.
cool. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I'm so
flattered.
proud of it because I grew up in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, you did.
The drag queer
Yeah.
theater. I have so many photos of me in like the floor show makeup and the corset.
You're
and the
one of those
boas and
people too, huh? Who went to the Rocky
Yeah,
Horror and
and-
dressed up. My wife did that too. She went to over and over and over again to see Rocky Horror.
I
when
was
she a
in the
kid.
cast. Like the cast raised me. Like that was my village that raised me in high school. Was
Yeah.
like these weird, queer, amazing theater people. Like I grew up weird. I was reading Ethical Slut at like 15 and like collecting records and watching David Lynch films. And
Yeah.
like I highly recommend raising your child in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But so anyway, it's such an important part of my heart.
Mhm.
And I do have a girlfriend. I also have a boyfriend. And so I just, my primary, I will say, is my boyfriend. But like it is a big part of that is
Yeah.
inside of me. So it was really cool to literally be a vintage, sexy, queer magician. Like
Yeah.
I'm basically myself. And then in it, I feel like, and then also I like the lyrics. She obviously wrote them way before we ever met. And like, someone else wrote them, but it's like, she was a stoner, Bridget Bardot, like Playboy, and like all the
You
funny,
identified
all the
with it.
things.
Totally.
I'm like, yes, I am a curvaceous stoner. Thank you, music.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, I'm really proud of it. And it is
It's
very
really cool.
me. And so it was just a huge, massive honor. And it just worked out that I existed and this thing existed and they found me, because they could have very easily hired, like a man magician to magic consult and then just cast a rando to be it. But I'm
Well,
glad I
it
got to
really
actually
helps
do
that
magic.
you're so deft with your magic, in the video. Like, why would they hire somebody else? I don't understand. Have you trained, then they wouldn't be as good. But anyway, I guess, sometimes something is staring you right in the face and you don't see it. Whoever was directing the thing or something, they're just like, probably when you said that, they're
Well,
like,
they did.
duh.
No, to their credit, they Googled me and found me.
Yeah, which is
So-
great, which seems like that's happening more and more. I was on a show because somebody found me through Facebook one time, and I didn't answer it for a long time because I thought they were, like spamming me or something. But these days, like those things happen. And do you audition regularly and do like for television shows too?
I wanted to do acting when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I am SAG-AFTRA. I had a very tiny speaking role on 13 Reasons Why. And I still get $100 residual check
All
once a
right.
year.
Nice. That's
Thanks,
nice.
Netflix.
I think some applause, maybe. There we go.
$100 a year.
Yeah. That's $100 I don't get.
Yeah. And but I will say, I part of why I pursued magic is I realized, one, I love all these things. I love improv, comedy, dance, just movement and jokes. I'm literally just repeating the things, but I love all these things.
Yeah.
And even clowning and mime, I can use in magic, like without saying words and interacting with the props. So it's like I was like a jack of all trades, master of none in my early adult life. And then I discovered magic. I was like, oh, I can pour all of these weird, fun things I love into this thing and use it as a vehicle for storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about magic is you have this opportunity to express yourself in ways that you don't get to in as an actor, right? You're not reading someone else's lines. So there's a lot of reasons that I went into it, but I also realized there aren't that many women. And so I was like, oh, this must be what it's like to be a man in musical theater, right?
Or in ballet.
I was like, okay, I want to be a man in musical theater. Yeah. 'Cause in high school, I watched all the men get the roles and me being like the quirky female, Emma Stone kind of character in La La Land. There's a million of us.
Yeah.
We go to the audition and there's 100 women all wearing the same color shirt. It's just I love acting, but it is such it is just like at least in LA at the lower
there's
end
just
of
so
it,
many
with the
actors,
commercials.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many actors. Yeah.
So
it's
that's
great that you
partly
have a
why
niche.
I did it. Yeah. And I will say magic has gotten me so many more opportunities, like being on the children's show Blippi. And then it was a movie now that's on Netflix called Blippi's Wonderful Talent Show. And also Penn and Teller's Fool Us and the TV show Masters of Illusion and Chappell Roan and like all of those. And I've been on a bunch of like weird random YouTube things too, like Ariak. And I just did the Zach Justice thing where it was like, it was funny. It was like blind dating, or no, it was blind dating based on talent. And like, it's not really dating, but we just do a bunch of magic and then he makes jokes about it. And that has like already 500,000 views, just little YouTube things.
And you also teach magic
yeah.
on a channel. There's a channel that's, I forget what it's called, where they've got you teaching magic tricks.
I did that years ago.
Yeah.
It's for magicians. It's called Scam School.
Scam School.
Like they teach bar bets. They teach bar bets and all sorts of things. Scam
School.
So all these things because of magic and that I wouldn't have gotten for just being an actor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that because it's given me tenfold what I've put into it. Like it's really been given back to me. Magic has taken from me but it's given to me so much more. So that sounded woo-woo, but you know what I mean?
No, but I like the fact that you're saying you bring something to the table when it comes, acting is a skill, obviously, but you bring added value, I guess they would call it in the corporate world. You bring added value to something, and it singles you out. Why do you think there aren't that many magicians that are women? Has that changed?
I think it's changing. I'm actually excited. I'm going to one of the first conventions it's not just for women. It's for, celebrating all sorts of diversity. It's called Mystify Magic Convention. Every time I talk to a dude magician, they're like, are you going to the girl convention? And I'm like, that's technically not what it is. You're welcome as an ally. Like men can come too. Yeah. Allies are welcome. But yes, I'm going to the women's convention. So I think that's really exciting. I think the industry is behind socially and culturally. Like I talk to women in corporate that are hiring me all the time, and I go to mixers with event planners and event industry professionals that are women, and they're all about sharing knowledge and helping each other out. Nobody is like, the men are bringing us down, I just think it takes time. For some reason we're behind, and I don't exactly know what it is, but I feel like right now we're maybe where like the 80s were, like when the movie 9 to 5 came out with Dolly Parton was maybe like a couple years ago in magic, and then now we're more like I'm trying to think of like cultural references to corporate women in corporate jobs that would match. But
Yeah.
I feel like we are slowly getting there,
Maybe like
but
tech
we're just
jobs.
behind. Yeah, well, no, because like tech jobs, so there's no lack of women, I feel like, in
Oh,
tech
really?
jobs.
Oh,
Yeah, like, I mean, yes, 1 in 3 will be maybe a woman, I feel like, and please Google that statistic and tell me if I'm wrong. But like in magic, it's like 1 in 1,000 is a woman. So it
Yeah.
is a bit different, but it's getting there.
1 in 1,000.
Like,
Really? It's
yeah.
that rare.
I mean, Google
Women in-
it. I don't know.
I mean,
I feel
you
like
know,
that is it.
I'm talking to the expert here. I don't need to
I'm
Google.
not a scientist. I'm not a numbers statistics scientist. I'm a magician. I pretend to have
I thought you were a
magical
politician.
powers.
I thought you were a politician. Are you sure you're not a politician?
I mean, I do lie to people.
oh,
so,
well, then there you go. You're qualified.
not to get too political. What was I going to say?
Yeah.
I think we're working on changing it. I think it's both men and women are the reason that there aren't that many women in magic. I know some female magicians that have closed the door behind them, and I know some female magicians that have opened that door wide open and been like, "Please welcome, come in." And then I know some men that, and honestly, most men I know are allies and are really wonderful.
Yeah.
So
Here's a
I mean, look,
question.
Penn Jillette was an amazing
Yeah.
ally to me. So
Here's a question. How rare is a male magician's assistant?
I
question.
would say, I mean, if you're an illusionist, you're going to have an assistant, and it may be a woman or it may be a man. When I do magic with illusions, I really like using a woman, and that's maybe because I like making a little bit of queerness part of my act.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love doing magic with a female assistant, but I would also do it with a male. I think it just depends on the jokes and the dynamic and what the event is and what characters we are, and like it would be kind of funny to saw a man in half, and
It'd be hilarious.
you know, it's if that makes sense for the character. But it also, I think, makes sense to do a tango like I have a clip of me on YouTube somewhere of me doing a tango dance kind of to the song River by Bishop Briggs, an amazing other artist. And then I get into a box thing and then I disappear, or like a chair thing, and a blanket goes over me and I disappear. But you know, I just used an assistant to help me with that and dance with me. That's a woman, but it could have been a man. Like, I think it's just whatever makes sense with what's happening. You should have my friend Gwen on the show. If you look her up on Instagram, everybody go look her up. She's amazing. Her name on there is Magician's Assistant. I think it's just like Magician's Assistant. And I think she has the website too. But she does lectures at large conventions. Like she lectured at Blackpool Magic Convention on being an assistant and how to treat your assistants well.
Really?
Yeah.
How is that? Are they like, is that a profession all in itself, or are they in training to be a magician themselves, or how does that work?
I think it depends. It's they're doing all the magic in the illusion, and the magician is pointing at the box often. I mean, it is still a tightly choreographed thing, but they're doing the work, you know. And so I think it's funny when I talk to women that have done assisting and they also are just starting to do magic themselves as magicians, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just starting to get into magic. Well, I was an assistant for 5 years," and I'm like, "So you did magic for 5 years? Like you knew how all the secrets worked, you made it happen, you're doing 80% of the work." And I don't know, I think that's a difference with the sexes too, is you know, they're just a little bit demure about it, and it's like, you know, be proud, you're doing it.
Like they're not doing it because they're the assistant.
You are doing
You
it.
are doing it.
Yeah.
And does the assistant, I mean, I assume the assistant, do you have the same assistant every time if you have one, or do you go utilize different assistants and you have to like rehearse? How do you rehearse too? I've got
so you
two
have to
questions.
rehearse. For me, I have used Gwen a couple times. She's amazing. She's really good, and she's like assisted for all sorts of different magicians, like Lance Burton and other names that I can't remember right now. But she's a big deal at that. And for me, I've had friends. I even have been a magician's assistant. Like if someone's in a bind, like and they need help, I'm like, yeah, I'll be a person in a box. Like I think. One, I think it's just like mentalism. It's a subsect of someone performing magic. And if you're like, I'm a magician's assistant, hells yes, like own that. And if you're like, I assist magicians with magic and I am a magician, but I get in the box, then own that too. You know, we don't there's no, what does bother me sometimes is I'll see female magicians be like, well, I'm not an assistant, as if that's like a lower status thing. And I think that's unfortunate. I think that's the kind of subtle sexism that other women will pull on other women, that kind of thing. Like, and that's that way in all sorts of walks of life.
It's always, there's always some kind of
like,
hierarchy or some kind of
or just thing. Women being like, well, I like sex, but I wouldn't wear something like that. You know, like it's just like, okay, like every that's a thing.
That is a
and
thing.
magic is not kept from that. But I know that does hurt assistants' feelings. I would say that they are just as valid, of course, as magic entertainers. So anyway, I hope that answered the question. That being said, I have stepped in when my male assistant friends or female magic friends have had their assistant not show up. Yeah. Like last minute. And they're like, my assistant didn't show up. And so from me watching that happen to other people, I personally just don't want to be in charge of anyone. So I don't use assistants for the most part. All of the illusions that I do are usually audience based. So I have 2 illusions where I can suspend someone. I have an illusion where I can literally like levitate them in air, like there's nothing around them, but it's an audience member. And I have an illusion where I can make someone appear. So I'll make like the VIP or a CEO at a corporate event appear, or like a keynote speaker, and then they come out to music and they make a speech. And then I also can make like the bride and groom at a wedding appear. And that's cool. Like awesome, because it's like 5 minutes of rehearsal. They're completely comfortable the whole time. And it literally is such a fun addition to almost any event. Like people watching this, think about how cool it would be if at your next corporate event or conference or summit, you just started it by having someone magically appear.
Yeah,
like,
that seems great.
How much of a rock star would you feel? So please hire me to do that. I work in Las Vegas, San Francisco, and LA and New York the most, but you can have me go anywhere.
Todd, I'm sure she could get up to Seattle. I'm sure.
Yes.
When you started doing corporate events, like if is that a typical thing for magicians to do, or did you start your own business? Did somebody mentor you? How did you get involved in that? And is it a lot of work to get the jobs and do the business of the thing?
Yeah, a lot of magicians ask me that. I think because they're like, how do you go from making 50K, 60K a year to making 6 figures? From, how do I go from being a kids party magician in backyards to at these 1,000-person insurance summits, which are not, that doesn't sound very sexy, but it actually is really fun to do.
Sexy.
Like it's glamorous and, but like pharmaceutical company party sounds not as cool as, cabaret.
Yeah, but it's a big audience. It's a big audience. They've got your attention. They're looking to be entertained. They're starved for entertainment,
And they have budgets to hire lighting
and they have
sound
money.
And exactly. And so for me, how I made the jump is during COVID, everything was shut down and I wasn't obviously doing as many parties. And until then, I did some adult events, birthday parties in someone's house for their 27-year-old friend. I wasn't not doing adult magic, or adult magic sounds weird, but
it does.
Magic was not doing adult magic. Yes. Nothing like that. Adult magic. This is in Amsterdam.
Magic for adults. For adults.
Yes.
Clothed.
And so during COVID though, but I didn't have a corporate show and I was intimidated. I felt like I didn't know anything about the industry. And I thought in order to do corporate, you had to like have a show for corporate that's like about leadership and team building and synergy and other quarterly reports. I don't know, other random business words.
PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah.
How to deliver a magical PowerPoint. Yeah.
And it's intimidating. And then I realized when, all that was happening with everything being shut down and I started doing these virtual shows, that they're just trying to add fun to their event. Like if you're at a summit and they're having a keynote speaker and a workshop and an activity, they might have everyone go to an escape room. They might have everyone do a relay race. I've seen team building where they have people build cardboard houses. Like, can you imagine like 60-year-old Doug, the CEO of a pharmaceutical company, I'm just making this up, building like a cardboard house or whatever.
Yeah.
And he loves it. They love it. It's silly. It's like the
I've
one
seen
time
that,
in their conference when they're having fun. So I feel like if you're looking into getting into this industry, realize that you can fill the need and be valid in this industry, not making it all corporate lingo, mumbo jumbo.
Mm-hmm.
I now have team building workshops and I do keynote speaking, and I'll talk about like leadership and, communication, and I'll weave in things like mentalism and magic, like how to make a sales call that's anticipating your client's needs. So in a way, you're being a mentalist and kind of solving the problems and their objections before they have them, that kind of thing. But like, it took me, 8 years to get there, or what year is it? 5 years to get to having those specific offerings. And,
but you could still take steps along the way. Like you didn't have to jump you didn't have to prepare for 5 years and then suddenly have your presentation, perfect. Yeah. I think that's good.
There is a market just for entertaining them.
Yeah. And I think if you know that, it's really helpful what you're saying, because I think a lot of people, like you say, they're just completely intimidated. And comedians too, we do corporate events like that too. And but there are those that do it. And then there's the other people that go, geez, I wish I was doing that. That seems like, and the thing that's magical about you also is that you seem to find all the different revenue streams. Like you're not closing the door in different places. You do the kids' parties, you do the corporate events, you do the adult shows. No, you do music videos. You're also enhancing your abilities as you go along, like going all the way up through groundlings. That's not easy, and that takes a lot of time. Are you going to be on Saturday Night Live anytime soon?
Oh, that was my dream when I was
it?
In as a kid. I remember dating a guy that was a comedian and really good at voices. And I remember during sex one time, or like when he was seducing me, I think it was before sex, he said that. And I was like, oh my God, like he said my name, the way that they say it, like, and Katrina cries. It's Saturday night. I was like, that is so hot.
Is that hot?
Say that again. Yes. What a dream. Say the voice again.
Do you still want to do SNL though? You could easily do it.
I would love to. Why could I easily do
it? Easily.
There's
just get your
so many
characters and get over there and do it.
I don't even know how they do those auditions.
And imagine how lucky they'd be to have a magician as well. Somebody who's just a great improv artist, and all of a sudden they just, pull a flower out of their eye or whatever. I don't know.
That's the dream. If someone here has a hookup for Saturday Night Live,
I think you could do that if you decided that that's what you're going to do, because you're that kind of person. Put your mind to it, you do it, and you have so much stage presence. Do it. I'm a big fan of that. I think you should do that. I'm looking forward to seeing you on SNL, and I'll be like, yeah, she was just on my podcast last year, and I told her to do that. That's what I'll say.
Well, I love you bring it up. You must be a mentalist, because it is one of my goals when I was younger, like bucket list goals for sure.
But you're definitely still younger. Kamala says, let's all lobby SNL to bring Katrina on. Yeah, I think that sounds good. All right, so the end of the show. Oh, one other thing I want to say. You also sell kits to kids to learn how to do magic, like little magic kits. How can people get that? Is that on your website as well?
Yeah, it is on my website. There's this tab that says store. So if you go to magicalkatrina.com, if you want to go straight to the store, it's just magicalkits.com.
Okay, good. I'll put that link in the show notes too.
Try to have consistent name branding.
Well, you're very good with your branding, and you're very good with your presence on the internet, which makes it much more accessible to, like, when I was having you on the show, then I know about you, even if the first time I see you is right on the show, So, and you're very consistent in your branding, so I applaud you in that. I just want to put also that website, Magical Katrina. There's the store, and then also, of course, you can see if you can hire Katrina for your corporate event as well. And we're going to get her on SNL. We're all the hummingbirds are going to get you on SNL. That's what we call ourselves, the hummingbirds. Okay, so at the end of the show, I didn't tell you this. We do what's called a dance break, where we just kind of dance around to somebody covering a song on the internet. I have a very short one today, but it's very appropriate. These guys, they take 2 songs and they sing them simultaneously. And one of the songs is Champagne Supernova, and the other one is Red Wine Supernova. Doesn't seem like it's possible, but we're going to dance to that at the end. Thank you so much for being on the show, Katrina. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, let's do this thing. Dance break time.
How many special people change? How many lives are living
It's a mashup. Yeah, I guess it's a
Where
mashup.
were you while we were getting high? I slowly walking down the hall. Guess I didn't quite cannonball. Where were you while we were getting high? Choked up, face down, burnt out. Someday you will, baby. Why don't you come over? Red wine in a champagne supernova into me. Someday you will find your company.
It kind of works.
I'm doing rave dancing.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's over. Shoot. All right. Well, thanks so much for everybody being here. And we'll see you on Tuesday for the show. Thanks, Katrina. Get her on SNL. Let's do this thing. All right. We'll see you later.
Or just follow me. Just follow me on
Follow
Instagram.
her on Instagram.
Magical Katrina.
That's right. I love it. Okay.